I've had quite a few things to say about the 32nd, whatever, convention, Congress, cult meeting, whatever, of the cooked party of the United States, the cucked party of the United States, the Communist Party of the United States. I'm sorry. But yeah, there was a lot of funny shit that may not turn out to be so funny from the perspective of the CPUSA. So I've got a comrade from Red Clarion there. Emblem is literally a fucking trumpet. But BurgerStalinist, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
All right. So you unfortunately could not attend the convention, but
Correct.
you had people who did with this group of yours, Unity Struggle Unity, organized around the Red Clarion newspaper. I have a question. Like, why do all communists like name their newspaper shit that sounds like it's done up like the 1920s or something?
Names are hard, man, and all the good ones are already taken.
No, let's call it Red Papers.
I'm sure there are red papers. There are red papers. They're the indigenous land back papers in Canada.
Oh, well.
See?
I mean,
Tough.
I personally wouldn't have picked the name Red Clarion and then used the trumpet. Like, can any of you guys even play the trumpet?
I don't think so. I mean, I can ask.
Oh, fucking larpers. So this so I've been going through you guys' Twitter. Unity Struggle Unity Press is a new, well, new as of 2022, explicitly
Yeah.
Marxist Leninist press based in the US, conceived by an experienced and locally active communists and maintained by a managed by a rotating editorial board. USU aims to contribute to the advancement of the communist movement from the settler colonized North America. Okay, it's kind of clunky language, but it's a noble goal. I mean, you identify as a Marxist Leninist Mao Zedong thought guy, right?
That's right.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, anything with Maoism is going to be good. Well, as long as it's not the fucking Khmer Rouge. Anyways, so the people need a press. So what differentiates Unity Struggle Unity from the dozens of other communist presses in the United States? Like, what makes you guys special?
So one of the things that we explicitly set out to do is not to create a party-like formation that manages the press. So, we have an organization, but it's not a pre-party formation. It's not intending to gravitate other people towards it to become the Communist Party, the Vanguard Party. Rather, we consider the movement to be in kind of an equivalent to like the 1880s, 1890s, and Tsarist Russia, right? Where it's like there's not a party, there's not really even consciousness of a class. We kind of need to build the basics of what will become the party. We got the added context of the fact that we have kind of all these shattered fragments of what the movement was in the whole past century that we have to deal with.
Hmm.
But otherwise, it's not time to have a party because we don't have even the most basic unity on certain questions of like what is theoretically even possible, or what do even terms in theory mean. Like we're still having arguments that can't be adjudicated because just people have not gotten together to that point. The general development level of your average communist is like, if you were to score it on like a grade level, it'd be like sixth grade of studying what communism means and what it is.
Hmm. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, I'm personally of the opinion that like all of this stuff, like coming from a Maoist background, like we've tried to struggle over this stuff before. Like we've had all the journals, we've had papers. Like honestly, I think that the best way to get everybody on the same page is to integrate thoroughly into class struggle. Like that's part of why I'm in DSA, because there's a lot of class struggle that's taking place that's led by Democratic Socialists of America. So I think that the best way to find out the answers to these questions in the context of the settler colonial United States is to actually go out there and engage in struggle. But you guys have a really good glossary of Marxism, Leninism. I see George Jackson here. Like I keep telling people to read George Jackson. Like I don't know why people don't want to read George Jackson. I guess it's because they're afraid of him. I mean, from shit that I've read about him when he was locked up, he was a pretty scary fucking dude. Like you don't organize Marxist Leninist organizations in some of the most dangerous fucking prisons in the country by not being a scary fucking dude. But so this is good. Like it kind of smacks of the BLA's glossary of
Mhm.
revolutionary thought. Like they have explanations for all of these things. Of course, like a glossary isn't a be all end all, but it definitely helps uh, generate an understanding of some of these terms that people throw around in many cases without understanding what the fuck they mean.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we joke around about it a lot in USU that we're really Marxist-Leninist George Jackson thought adherents, but it's more true than it isn't, I guess.
Okay. So I'm looking at some of the articles that you guys have produced. The Hague will not absolve you. That's funny. What is organizing? Claim the convention. Ooh, this is relevant.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
how we agitated.
Okay, let's see. The 32nd National Convention of the CPUSA will be held this weekend from June 7th until the 9th. All members of the party who call themselves Marxist Leninists must grasp that the future of the party is at stake and sit on a path towards genuine revolutionary action. Tendrils of revisionism, opportunism, and tailism rot. Hey, that's funny. Clinch on to the convention document to seek to drag the party back into its days of bleakest reaction. The entrenched leadership clique, represented by Sims and Cambron, but avatared in the grinning form of John Bachtel, seeks only to window dress the funneling of dues to people's world and of hard won radical energy back to the Democratic Party. Many of the 23 convention resolutions. Let's check out some of the convention resolutions. The amendment process is now closed. There will be no resolutions or amendments accepted from the convention floor. So, I'm actually in the process of drafting an anti-Zionist resolution for my DSA chapter. But
Nice.
yeah. So, I mean, this is basically like stock reformist shit. Like
Yeah.
I don't really see, and this is the party of record in the United States. Like if the Communist Party of China wants to talk to communists in the United States, they're going to hit up the CPUSA, right? Because they're the party of record, going all the way back to Comintern days.
Yeah. I
So
mean, they never really, I mean, it was never really a coherent party. If you look into the history of the CPUSA, right? They were like forced to join by the Comintern. They were like a fraction of the SPA and the CPA, and they never got along. And they never really got along in their whole history. The Black Blood Brotherhood joined up and
the
like made the
African blood
I'm sorry,
brotherhood.
African Blood Brotherhood to make the best efforts to correct the chauvinist drift. And what was it, 51 or 52 when the I think it was the 14th CPUSA convention basically expelled anybody who had been associated with it.
Well, the African blood brotherhood was in the 20s. So
Right.
that
But
was actually one of the first like all black organizations to join. They basically liquidated themselves into the CPUSA. That's where they got a lot of their early black cadres from Otto Hoistwood,
right.
etc. And you also had Harry Haywood Hall, who came along later in the 30s and late 20s and actually helped draft the position on the national liberation of colonized New African black people. Back in the day, they would say Negroes, but colonized black people in the United States. And yeah, that was basically their line all throughout the 20s. And then you had fucking Earl Browder who came and fucked everything up. And yeah, like you said, coming into the 50s, you had Haywood Hall and all of the cadres who had helped make this thing, Queen Mother Moore, all of them, they either left the party in disgust or they got in disgust or they got expelled for, I can't remember what stupid term they would call it, but basically black chauvinism.
Yeah.
And then it ended up becoming the reactionary CPUSA that we all know and hate today. So, um, why is the Communist Party of the United States talking about defending the Constitution?
Hey man, you got me.
You're a member of this
I,
fucking. You're a member of this fucking thing. Why are they talking about defending the U.S. Constitution, the slaveholders' Constitution? There's a literal fucking caucus in DSA that's all about like getting rid of the fucking Constitution. Mug.
I mean, listen, You know the real answer to that already, and it's because they exist solely to tail Democrats and divert revolutionary energy. There was at a point more FBI agents in the Communist Party than there were communists.
So that's not just a meme.
No, that
Yeah,
that's legit.
that's
The
not
uh, the
that's not
New
just a
England
fucking meme.
district organizer, yeah, the New England district organizer turned out from the 60s to the 80s to be, I think his name was Childs, to be an informant. So he was just feeding things into the FBI, and
What
they
the fuck?
used that to get their people all over the place. They had the registries of members, that kind of shit. If you look into back in the 30s when the party was actually active and doing real organizing work, the they would never keep records of membership in the South because they were afraid that they would fall into somebody's hands.
Yeah,
And
yeah, like namely the Klan who would come and
right,
shoot up their fucking meeting place and hang people. So
right,
yeah.
exactly. And so now, come the 60s, you have people like, Lovestone. He used to be the chair, one of the co-chairs of the
Oh,
party
fuck him.
yeah, CIA agent. I mean,
CIA agent also deeply tied in with reactionary unions. Um,
mhm.
Affirming the revolutionary working class character of the USA. Let's see what this is about. And whereas the desperate efforts of the US's ruling class to dominate the world economy through sanctions and proxy wars is resulting in growing global resistance and solidarity, as well as an increased danger of nuclear devastation. Well, why do people keep harping on this? Like, nuclear war has not been a threat since the 60s.
Most of the leadership of the CPUSA are extreme. Basically, they grew up in the 60s, then they've held on to their leadership positions since. To them, it is the 60s.
And whereas thinking people in America and around the world, especially younger people, are rising up against the old system of capitalism and imperialism and blah, 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 blah. These people take several paragraphs to say the most inane shit, like this last one that I just read. It's basically
Yeah.
saying that they're endorsing Biden, but they know that like there's basically going to be a fucking war if they flat out say fuck you, we're endorsing Biden. So these people would make very very good Congress people because that's all that politicians do. This like couch bullshit in lovely language.
I mean, if you knew how they write these things, you would understand why they're like this. They go, you read they're not allowed to bring resolutions on the floor, which is incredible, right? You have your delegates for the first time from all over the country meeting, and they're not allowed to bring new resolutions or really even amend the old resolutions. The way that they get these like very, very wordy things written is that they pass them around over and over again leading up to the convention. And then they have to go to a subcommittee of the National Committee, which runs everything and is a closed loop, right? They reelect themselves every convention. And this subcommittee chooses which resolutions are going to get read at the convention. And then when you get to the convention, you don't really even, you have got a minute to debate for each club. So like it's basically an up and down voice only vote. They don't have any other way of voting. You don't do roll call, don't do anything, just voice. This, I think you're reading 5. Was that the resolution 5?
Hold on, let me
The
scroll.
Biden one.
7, 6, 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that resolution didn't pass because there was such turmoil inside the convention hall that they decided that, okay, we can't tell if it's passing, so we're going to table it, which means if it gets tabled, then the National Committee gets to decide whether or not it passes. And guess what? The National fucking Committee put the resolution on the floor in the first place because it's their resolution. So it passes by default, even though there was huge outcry.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this doesn't seem like a very democratic party. Like in
No.
DSA, like people, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the discussions that we have and some of the arguments and debates and whatnot that we have. In a way, yeah, it's annoying, but like that's what I mean, DSA isn't even a party. And what a lot of these bullshit ass formations do is they lean heavily on a bastardization of democratic centralism. It's called bureaucratic centralism.
Yes.
And they lean heavily on this bureaucratic centralism to basically silence dissent. Like they basically
Yeah.
ram all this shit through, and there's no room for discussion. Like my question is to a lot of these people, like why would you spend your money and dues on this shit? And like why do you keep sending money to these people? Like why would anybody keep going through this shit?
It's wild to look at it from the outside. The people that go through it, if you talk to them, like they don't even really understand what the history of communism in this country or any country has been. They don't know what democratic centralism is supposed to look like. They haven't done any of their own research. CPUSA and PSL have their own internal trainings about how these things are supposed to work, and they're so fucking wrong that the people go through them and they're like, oh yeah, of course, this is as opposed to bourgeois democracy. In a communist democracy, you don't get to say anything. You just have to go along with what the leaders say because they've already studied everything.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fucking
And they
insane.
believe it.
That's
Really,
fucking
I think you can look at the CPUSA and like the patriotic socialists as petty bourgeois versions of the GOP and the Democrats. They're doing the same work.
I mean, yeah, that's valid. And from what I've seen, like that's essentially what they're doing. So fuck all these resolutions because they don't mean anything. Like, how are they going to be able to how are they going to be able to implement any of this shit? Like, they have no fucking power. They have no fucking
Oh,
power, and
no.
it doesn't seem like they want any power, to be honest.
No, I mean, listen. Even the union organizing they don't do it as communists. I sat in on one of their meeting things from the national committee. Their organizers don't say who they are or what they're doing when they organize, and they like help organize unions, and then they like walk away from them. So they're not even making red unions; they're just making unions. It's trade union consciousness at the worst.
That's fucking pathetic. So yeah, just reading through the resolutions, it just seems to be a bunch of pandering to me. Like,
Yeah.
there's no actual meat, there's no actual teeth, there's no actual strategy here. It's like, oh, we have to say something about the Latinos because we want the Latinos to join. We have to say something about the blacks because we want the blacks to join us and pay us dues. And yeah, and
Yeah.
you also brought up a lot of stuff about like how fucking shisty they are with money.
Yeah, they're. I mean, when you get these bureaucratic centralist organizations in the West, they start because they're trying to keep chauvinism basically in control, right? They don't want people who actually know what's going on to vote against chauvinist resolutions that fuck shit up, right? That make it impossible to organize. And then once you've got a group of people who has entrenched themselves in power, they realize that they can fucking steal money too. Why just get rid of show, or why just entrench chauvinism when you can entrench this like funnel system to get everybody's dues and shit? So there are 9, I think, charities that are owned by individual members, or owned or staffed by individual members of the party leadership. By the way, the CPUSA doesn't have any corporate existence. It's not registered anywhere. It doesn't have any national existence at all, according to like bourgeois law. So all of the things that the party owns are owned by people or companies owned by people. So like they also don't have to follow party democracy. They funnel money into these things, and then they pay themselves out of them to live. Like Rosanna Cambron owns $1 million house. Uh, it's wild. Like they're just using their membership as fucking phone bank and door
Wait,
knocking
a
people
CP
for.
a member of a communist party lives in a $1 million house?
Yeah, look up the address on the IRS forms.
Oh my
she
god.
uh yeah, well, I think it might be 850 to a million, but like it's not a cheap house.
Uh,
And they're all like that. Bakhtel, who is the editor in chief of People's World, he was the chair of the party after Sam Webb was kicked out for being too openly liquidationist. He's still on the national committee. He owns Advanced Realty or runs Advanced Realty, as well as Longview Publishing, 2 private corporations that we can't see their money, but they publish People's World. They own an $8 million building in New York, which they rent out as corporate landlords. I mean, it's a money, it's a grift. They're like
Yeah,
televangelists basically.
yeah, that sounds like a fucking scam because it is.
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
like, I already see what they're up on. Like, they know that they're the party of record in the United States. A lot of people that are interested in communism, they go into Google Communist Party United States. They're gonna come up, and so these naive ass kids are gonna sign up for this shit. And here you go, like you said, it's gonna end up in fucking Sims and Bachtel's and all these other people's pockets. That is,
yeah.
I mean, in a way, it's uniquely American. Like, this country is a country of hustlers. So, of course, our communism is going to be fucking hustlers, right?
I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. And I'm sure the government fucking loves it.
Oh, yeah, the government digs it. As long as they, yeah. And, well, honestly, I see these people getting in trouble for tax evasion because they're using a fucking thin facade of a charity to live the lives of lords. But, yeah, it's fucked up. Like, this is supposed to be an organization that's centered around class struggle, and here you have, not only are you paying money to these fucking old ass grifters that grew up under the threat of nuclear war in the 60s, but they also treat you like fucking shit. Like,
Yeah.
you can't, like, I've had several people ask me to join the CPUSA. They want me to join the CPUSA, and I'm like fucking why? Like, what exactly can I do in the CPUSA? Like, I'm going to be restrained and constrained. Honestly, if I were to join the CPUSA, all I would do is probably end up getting myself kicked out in 6 months because, for one, I have a fucking reputation, and then for two, like I have a very, very low tolerance for bullshit, like most other black people in this country. Like, you're not going to talk to me any type of way. Like, if I say, especially if I'm paying you money, like if I'm paying dues to a party, I expect some fucking satisfaction.
Yeah,
And
as you should.
yeah, there's no way in the fucking world I'm going to submit a resolution to the convention after they had these people paying 300 fucking bucks to live in shitty dorm rooms.
Yep. You had to pay it even if you didn't stay there, even if you had your own housing.
Oh my fucking god! It's like fucking, like you said, this is like fucking televangelists. This is like
Yeah.
this is like the Trump campaign in red. Like, after
Yep.
Trump, like Trump is constantly sending out emails asking these fucking Italian restaurant owners in Dubuque, Iowa, or used car salesmen in Grand Rapids to be like, "Hey, send me $1. Fucking Sleepy Joe, he's trying to fuck me over." And I'm like, bro, aren't you a fucking, well, he's not a billionaire anymore, but you have far, far more money than these poor fucks will ever see, and you have the nerve to ask them for 20 bucks each. It's a grift.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, Donald Trump is the epitome of America. Like, you ask why, like, white people get ready to reelect Trump because they see themselves in him. They don't oppose Trump. They want to beat Trump.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this whole, like, I was scrolling through these resolutions, like this whole anti-MAGA shit. Like, you have to contextualize and you have to analyze MAGA in the context of the United States being a settler colonial country. And you have to also, like, look into the people who are voting for. Like, these are people who, like I said, want to beat Trump. They see their class aspirations in Trump. Like, after he got in trouble, after he was found guilty of all those felony charges, like, you had people crying outside the courthouse like they had just crucified Jesus Christ. In a way, like, Trump is the Christ of white America. Like, you see this guy, they see him as a victim, even though he did all of this shit, even though he thinks these people outside the courthouse crying over him are fucking imbeciles, good for nothing but votes and money. But
yeah,
like,
I mean,
this is what America is. Like, American politicians are celebrities. Like, this whole AOC thing, people don't give a shit what AOC believes. They believe that she either is like the epitome of all their hopes or the epitome of all their hates. And of course she's going to denounce protests outside a pro-genocide event because she doesn't give a fuck. She's an embarrassment to DSA, and honestly, we should have kicked her out years ago. But then you have these people like in DSA that are like, "Oh, she's our most famous member. Who gives a fuck?"
well, that's the problem, right? If we can't get real economic struggle, then instead we have to play struggle with these play issues about celebrity politicians.
Yeah. And again, it's uniquely American.
Yeah.
So, about this dude, this guy from the Communist Party of Israel that addressed the conference. In the first, like, 2 minutes of his speech, he, of course, condemned Hamas. And
Yep.
like people are like, oh well, he's an Israeli, and this harmed his people. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, do we or do we not as communists? He fancies himself a communist, so why is he putting out this nationalist sentiment? Like, why is
I
he
mean,
not just nationalist sentiment, but nationalist sentiment to a country that doesn't deserve to exist? Like, I'm pretty sure that we're supposed to be proletarian internationalists, right?
hey, it's a second international all over again.
That's what it seems like.
I mean, listen, when you got your party coming out with, I mean, this resolution about the primary contradiction, like, first of all, of course they're gonna the when they deny the primary contradiction is settler colonialism or whatever. It's so malformed a resolution that like it's clear they don't even understand what the fuck they're talking about.
Mm.
And then you, to even take a stand one way or the other, like why did you do that? You didn't have to say anything about settler colonialism, but to come out and say like we have a white chauvinism problem, but we don't think that this is an issue. Like, what is the matter with you? It's clear that you don't understand contradiction theory at all, because first of all, primary contradiction is like that's a phrase that comes from the internet. The principal contradiction is how Mao characterizes it, right? And it's like it changes the principal contradiction depending on the conditions. So like, how are you going to come to a resolution that settler colonialism is not the principal contradiction? It's certainly a principal contradiction in Israel, right? In the Zionist occupation, and
Yep.
it's a principle. It is the principal contradiction here. And the reason it is currently the principal contradiction is because unless it is overcome through the communist organizing, through organizing toward national liberation, there cannot be any kind of class struggle. It must be resolved first. That's what the principal contradiction is. But you see all these CPUSA people running around saying like, well, it's not the root cause, it's class that's the root cause. And it's like, that's not what it means, what the principal contradiction is. The principal contradiction is the conditioning contradiction, not the most basic, but the one that has to be resolved first.
Mm. Yeah, you guys have a lot of good stuff on your. You have a very professionally done web page. The Night of
Oh,
the
thank you.
Ram. Tonight it is the night of the Ram and the Truncheon. The arm swinging it wears a Democratic Party armband. Push just a little against the ruling class, and they will band together in a slavering mass of ghouls and devils. To the conciliators,
Thank
you
you.
have your choice. Stand with the people or with their enemy. To the ruling class, you have overplayed your hand. Tonight you have shown the students and workers of the cities your contempt and treated them like the colonies and semi-colonies. Okay. So you guys definitely bring the fire. But my question is, and I'm pretty sure the question of a lot of people who may be critical of you guys is like, what are you guys actually doing on the ground? Like, because anybody can make a web page, right? Anybody can make a web page. Anybody can make a newspaper. But like, what are you guys actually doing to actualize your politics?
So one of the requirements that we have for membership is that our members are either members of organizations on the ground or are like in the process of forming organizations on the ground, or are otherwise not capable of doing that because they can show that they're in a position where that's not possible for them, whether they live somewhere like outside the continental U.S. Where they can't form a North American based organization.
Mm.
We each are members of like I'm technically an active DSA member. I haven't been in CPUSA since they kind of shafted me in 2016 or
But
2020
you,
and
but you are a
kicked me
member
out.
of DSA.
I'm a DSA member.
Ooh, what
I,
branch?
I the newly formed New Britain, I think, branch in the Northeast.
Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, fucking Yankee.
Yeah,
Anyways,
but beyond that, most of us have our own study groups, which we do cadre development with local workers and expand the study groups. That those study groups report back usually to USU about how things are going, what's working, what's not working. We were active in the encampments all over the U.S. in April and May. So we think that it's necessary to have a practical on the ground element. Theory is primary right now, but you can't do anything with theory unless you have some kind of practice. So we're working to hopefully unite and knit together the movement, and in order to do that, we have to be connected to the movement.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad to hear that you're a member of DSA because I was actually kind of worried that you come for us next. But I mean, honestly,
And my
honestly, I'm
criticism of DSA is just that it's like incoherent. So it's a great place to organize.
yeah, I've learned a lot actually from like being in DSA. But like, I shouldn't have said come for us. But sometimes, like sometimes shit needs to be come for. Like
Yeah.
for example, AOC and Jamal Bowen basically offering low key, actually high key, fuck low key, high key support for Zionism. Like that's something that needs to be come for. Like
Yeah.
as a Maoist, my slogan is dare to struggle, dare to win. Bombard the headquarters. And people keep acting like there's no headquarters that could be that can be bombarded. No, like there's actual fucked up shit that's for one making our organization look bad. Like people have been boycotting within our lifetime in New York has been boycotting DSA for several years because of Jamal Bowman. This guy literally went over to Israel on a J Street funded junket, and
Hmm.
people are acting like there's nothing whatsoever wrong with that. And people are like, oh, he's doing backward. No, come out explicitly. Do you support Zionism or do you oppose Zionism? That's all that people are asking for. And it's your job as a supposed wannabe tribune of the people. I don't think Jamal Bowman sees himself as such, but a lot of people do. It's your job as a supposed tribune of the people to actually say definitively and clearly what it is you believe. And
Yeah.
people act like holding these politicians accountable is a bad thing, like we want to wreck or we want to fuck shit up. No, we don't. We just want to, for one, expose the limitations of bourgeois politics because people keep acting like bourgeois politics is somehow the path to revolution. And then for two, like we have a duty to our Palestinian class siblings and our Palestinian comrades in the movement to actually hold these people accountable because we're in the same organization that they are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that unfortunately just exposes the limits of organizing in the DSA, right? Because it's my understanding that we didn't even run those people as DSA people; we just endorsed them. So I don't even think a majority of people in the DSA understand political discipline or what it would really mean to be in a militant party at all. So like you can't do that in a real disciplined party where you disobey essentially the party's central organs with and you just keep going as a member. But
Mm.
people are not used to that. People are used to these like what it means to participate in bourgeois democracy as a non-bourgeois person, which is like you sign up, you fucking go to the vote every 4 years, and you send money.
Mm.
People got to grow, and they got to learn what it means to be in a class party and what class politics are like.
Yeah.
That's why I usually say that we don't even really have class in itself as on the table, let alone class for itself.
Mm.
But in DSA, that's where like most of the advanced workers are gravitating. So that's where you can
Hmm.
do a lot of good agitating.
Yeah. Definitely not gravitating to the CPUSA because like your average worker, like if they like your average worker is not going to send money to an organization and then fucking Joe Sims bald head ass talks to him crazy. Like nobody's going to tolerate that. I'm also looking at this article that's on the CPUSA website. The United States is not a fascist country. Like, why are these people's analysis? Like, I have not read one good I have not read one good take from this party. I have
I
not.
don't know.
Like,
If
what the
if they had a good take, they would have to disclaim it because it would put them in jeopardy with their fucking democratic financiers.
mm. I also like these little leaflets that you guys put out. People were tearing them down at the CPUSA conference. That wasn't very nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, people
Hey,
were
listen,
tearing.
it's expected.
Yeah.
It's expected. I mean, if they had leafleted here with some bullshit about how we got to vote, I probably would tear them down.
Ugh. Nothing like a good old leaflet and pamphlet war. I took part in
Yeah.
many.
I mean, that's how you know the class consciousness is starting to really escalate, is when you can see people out on the street who give a shit about what we're leafleting or pamphleting.
Mm. So what is you guys' like goal with the CPUSA now? Like basically all the good Maoists, all the good communists, all the good MZT people, all the good whatever need to leave the organization immediately?
I mean, that would be nice, but that's not going to happen. Our goal, really, I mean, we knew we weren't going to change anything at the convention, and I think our one of our articles, as much as said so. The goal is to expose the CPUSA so that stops sucking in people. We got to clear the field. We got to remove all the detritus that's collected over the past century, so that people can actually organize something that works. And there's shit blocking us from doing that. There's CPUSA, there's PSL, there's all of the reformist or opportunist formations that are kicking around. They gotta get
what's your beef with PSL?
They do the same shit with the democratic centralism. They're basically a split from the that old Marxite party,
the Workers' World Party.
Yeah, Workers' World.
Yeah.
They're run by a small clique of interrelated petit bourgeois families, and like I'm not looking for smoke with PSL right now because we can barely handle fighting off CPUSA at once. But like eventually we are going to have to say some stuff about them. They turn all their people into just marches. That's all they do. That's all they know how to do. That's all they really care to do, which is sad because a lot of very what would otherwise be very committed revolutionists go into the PSL, and then they get cabined into these clubs that aren't allowed to talk to each other, just like in the CPUSA. And
that's
then
one thing I like about That's one thing I like about DSA. We actually are allowed to talk to each other.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you got to have dialogue. It's again this like copy paste of the ban on factions from a period that's a civil war in Russia to here, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. Democratic centralism is supposed to slide with depending on how repressed or repressive the state is, and the state's not repressing us at all, basically, in terms of organizing. So we should have almost the broadest possible democracy at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the state isn't repressing the CPUSA because the CPUSA doesn't do shit.
Yeah.
Plus, like, it's thoroughly neutered and owned by the state, basically. So I don't know. Some people would call you guys wreckers. How would you respond to that?
Some things need to get wrecked.
Okay, Gordon Gecko. Why are you wrecking this? Why are you wrecking this company? Because it's wreckable, all right. I mean,
if it's in the way, if it's clogging forward movement in the revolution, it's got to go.
It's a very hard line.
Hey, sometimes it's just hard what we're doing, right? This is not an easy task that we've set ourselves as revolutionaries. Sometimes we got to make hard decisions. Listen, I like a lot of people in the CPUSA. I have a lot of friends in PSL. I'm not out to hurt people on an individual ego level, but we have to come together. And in order to come together, people have to get around this parochialism about like, oh no, you come into my thing. I'm not going to come into your thing. Like, fuck off. We got to dissolve all the things and we got to form the party to be. Like, it doesn't exist yet.
Did you draw this cartoon with the Democrat donkey and the dog?
No, our artist did. Chef.
Why did you make the donkey? Why did you make the donkey look like me with hair? I don't like that. Anyways,
I thought the donkey looked like Krusty the Clown, so I'm sorry.
Settlers forward together. I mean, I do appreciate your coverage of the convention. A lot of people were mad about it. Actually, your post about the Communist Party of Israel. It was like, I think it opened a lot of people's minds to how fucked up it is.
I hope so.
Like at this conjecture, why would you invite like the Communist Party of Israel? It's like you want to have people mad at you. And then the thing is that like when people get mad at you for justifiable reasons, like inviting a two-stater political party to your convention, like you can't just be like, oh, what are you doing? Like sometimes doing nothing is the best thing. Like I would rather do nothing than have the ignominy of being known as the party that hosted the Communist Party of Israel.
I think they also have the same kind of disease of pragmatism, right? Where they think like, oh, well, you have to be pragmatic about how we're going to do this. So therefore we're the adults in the room. And it's like, we're here to tear this shit down.
I'm a pragmatist before I'm anything, but there's a difference between being pragmatic. Like Mao was pragmatic, but being a pragmatist means that in the revolutionary context that you have to like keep in mind that our goal is revolution. Being a pragmatist does not mean like ceding your organizational prestige, what little of it you have left anyways, to the Democratic Party. That's not pragmatic. That's stupid. Because a real
Yeah.
pragmatist would be like, what does this have to do for me? So, as the party of record in the United States, as the Communist Party of the United States, your job should be to bring all of these hard left kids under the auspices of your party, right, to prevent them from going to PSL and becoming anarchists and all these other things, right? But it's like these old ass people that run CPUSA, they don't care. It's like they just want to keep this fucking grift going until they all die.
Exactly. They just want the money to keep coming. That's all. And that means killing any kind of democracy. And they don't want the feds to come down on them. So it also means killing any kind of revolutionary talk. And they don't want to lose their property. So it actually means being opposed to revolution.
That sounds like a fucking bourgeois party. Like, that's essentially what it is. Like, you don't want to lose property. You don't want to fuck your money up. You don't want this.
Yeah.
But these are our communists. The imperial core is so rotten that our communists are fucking property owners.
Yeah. With communists like these.
With communists like these, who needs fucking bourgeoisie? Who needs it?
Yeah.
I mean, the communists are the fucking bourgeoisie. Ultra leftism means anybody with a modicum of political principles. I mean, man. Honestly, I take my hat off. I'm not going to take my hat off because I don't want to blind my viewers, but I take my hat off to you guys. Like, somebody has to confront this type of shit because this is atrocious.
We appreciate that. It's not easy to do.
Like,
I don't like to be the guy who's in people's faces yelling at them, but they're not leaving us much choice.
I mean, I don't know. I think you kind of give me the vibe that you like to yell at people's faces. You definitely come across as like a conflict avoidant guy, at least in real life. Now, on the internet, you're a fucking beast, but in real life, nah.
I'd rather make friends than enemies, but if I gotta have enemies, you gotta deal with them like enemies.
Kings don't have friends. Kings have subjects, and kings have enemies. I believe that was Stannis Baratheon. Anyways, so what is next? After say people heed you guys' advice, right? Say all of these revolutionaries leave the CPUSA. What few revolutionaries they have, they leave CPUSA. What do you want them to do?
It would be great if they leave them as whole clubs, because then they'll have a ready formed group of people that they can turn into a real organization.
You dirty fucking wrecker. You don't just want individuals to leave. You don't just want individuals to leave. You want to pull out whole fucking organizations.
Yeah, we need organizations.
That's something that always gets me. Like, why did they call their local branches clubs?
I think they were trying to ape the French Revolution because there were the Jacobin clubs. That's my feeling.
You mean they're the club? Then they bear more resemblance to the fucking Club de Massiac, but whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the slaveholders club?
Yes, it was. Oh, yeah. It was the slaveholders club.
Yeah, I knew I remembered something from fucking Black Jacobins.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've always wondered why they did that. So they leave as whole organizations, they leave as whole clubs.
Correct.
And they form what? Your Unity Struggle Unity newspaper groups or something?
No. The Unity Struggle Unity can't oversee or command or control groups at this stage. We're not at that. So, all right, we talked about contradictions, right? Mm-hmm. We'll talk about the primary local central issue, right? Where there's a contradiction between local organizing and local control and central organizing and central control. We're in a stage where there cannot be a central organization that can create local organizations. And I think I like FRSO. I have a lot of
Frizzo. It's
confidence.
Called Frizzo.
Frizzo sounds like a frisbee. All right, Frizzo. I talked to members of their board, for a long time. I think they got a lot of good things going for them. I think one of the mistakes they make is that they're very centralized and they're trying to do things in a central fashion like a party. But we're not at a party building stage. We're at the pre-stage where we need the elements of the party to come together. So USU is not out here to like domineer any local group and say, you got to do this, you got to do that. But we are here to say like, hey, do you want to give us information about what's going on in your area so we can publish it? And do you want us to circulate it and like talk about it and give you feedback about what you can do? And, we actually contacted Red Sales a little while ago. I think we're developing some educational programs that hopefully we can run for people. We're trying to put together a little kind of worker school in a box that you can take and run yourself, or come to USU and say, hey, we want to go through this basic theory education, because so much of what we know, there's no corpus of theory to study. The Marx Engels Lenin Institute doesn't exist anymore. So we have to like build that ourselves. And everybody is very uneven in the West about Marxist theory because there's not really a good body of it to study. So we want to even people out so they have an understanding. They know, like, if I see this, that's not democratic centralism. That's a fucking cult. If I see that, that's not there's no such thing as a primary contradiction. So this person doesn't know really contradiction theory, that kind of thing. I'm looking for a principal contradiction that can change. I want to see not mechanical materialism, but materialism that allows inversion of contradictions and things like that. So hopefully these organizations will exist outside of the CPUSA where they can do good, because the CPUSA is negating them right now. They can go out into their community and organize, and we can provide support from USU if they want it. And we're trying to get together a convention eventually of organizations that can come together and form a broad umbrella organization. We're not saying you got to listen to us. We're saying come into a room and talk to us so we can develop points of unity at, the end of 2025 is our goal. Ambitious, probably not going to be the end of 2025, but like sit down, have a convention, found something. We want lots of organizations that already exist. We want you to sit and talk your fucking points of unity out. And then we want to go forward with something that can act together. And I think,
What do you think about the people that are saying that DSA and CPUSA should merge? Not that it's
that's
ever
a terrible idea.
Not that it's I agree. I agree. Like, for what, it's never going to happen. Like, why haven't Pepsi and fucking Coca-Cola merged?
What does CPUSA have to offer other than bodies?
That is true. We do need bodies. Actually, we don't, because we're the largest left-wing organization in the United States. But still, like, honestly, they would drag our politics down into the fucking gutter even deeper. So,
yeah. Really what we need to work toward is a unity of Marxists. So eventually, I feel like people in the DSA, Marxists in the DSA, you can organize a Marxist circle inside. But at some point, you're going to grow beyond the DSA and you're going to need to either leave it or purge it. And I don't think it doesn't look possible to purge from my perspective, just like the CPUSA can't be purged. I think the better thing is to just say, all right, we made our group here. We made our organization. We're out.
Yeah.
I could be mistaken, but I think the Communist Caucus is like kind of that mind.
Yeah, I like CC. I haven't joined any of these caucuses yet because I think that, like, I don't know, I think that I would hurt more than I would help because I have a tendency to shoot my fucking mouth off.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Red Star a lot.
Yeah.
I like Commie Caucus, and I'm in Mug's Discord. So I haven't joined either of them because, like I said, I would make them look bad. But like if I read a good proposal, I share it. Like all three of those groups have shared some good stuff. But yeah. Oh yeah, I'm also in the on the international committee.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you should definitely get more involved with like DSA national politics. We need people with our politics that are that have revolutionary communist politics.
I'm trying to carve out some time to get on the political education committee locally, but yeah, I got to get some. It's hard to find free time. You ever hear that there's a Philippine song about communists? It's like the lyrics are, "My girlfriend is a communist. She's always in a meeting."
Yeah, there was actually a saying at Yan'an during the war against the Japanese. Peasants would say that the Kuomintang steals too much, the communists meet too much, and the Japanese kill too much. So basically, they're saying fuck everybody.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's the life we live. Is we're always in meetings with people.
Yep. I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with meetings as long as they have like as long as they aren't just fucking blowhard shit.
Yeah.
Um. So, I guess last question I have. Um, what do you think is the future of the CPUSA? Like, do you think that it's doomed? Like,
Ultimately, yeah.
but there's still going to be a. I'm reading you all's thing. You all wrote a thing about the fucking IMT and their Revolutionary Communists of America thing. It's like, why do you all spend so much time attacking these different groups?
I mean, the IMT is scary. You should read that thing. We didn't write most of that. That's from a former member.
It's scary. What's so scary about a bunch of trots?
They're one of the most well organized cult shaped formations that there are. They really have. You think the CPUSA is abusing their members? The IMT is wild.
Can they kick my ass?
Can they kick your ass? Probably not.
Okay, that's what makes somebody scary to me. If they can't,
Okay, well,
if they can't,
psychologically,
if they can't fuck me up, if they can't fuck me up physically, I'm not scared of them. What am I going to be afraid of a bunch of doughy trots for?
yeah. I mean, they're probably all like European trots. I'm not. I don't think they're physically intimidating, but like the way that they treat people is very unpleasant.
I don't have to deal with them because I'm not stupid enough to join a Trotskyite cult.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
I mean, I'm not in any way like trying to mitigate or like tone down, but like, yeah, in a way, I get what you're saying because like, okay, I'm different. Like I'm black in America, which means that I'm a natural cynic. But like I see like starry-eyed white kids in college. They're say they've read Marx for the first time, so they go and look for communists. And the IMT, they're putting out all of these things like, if you're a communist, join us. And like they do all the, they kind of remind me of the Gonzaloites, the Red Guards
Mhm.
early on. Like that's the shit the Red Guards used to do. They used to do these really cool looking marches through the streets, and it makes you like if you're a starry eyed college freshman, oh yeah, these are the real communists. I need to join them. And then
Yeah,
next thing you know, you are cracking an egg over some DSA chick's head. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, we gotta people, especially white kids who become communists. They tend to gravitate toward ultra leftism to purge their own sense of complicity,
their
and
own
so
white guilt. Yeah,
you got Baba Vakian and you got the IMT ready to suck them up.
Bob Avakian.
Right? I mean, those are the two groups, the most cult-like cult groups in the left, and they're just hoovering people up.
No, nobody takes the Avakianites seriously anymore. But
I mean, there's got some of them because they're still fucking putting up posters and shit.
yeah, that's true. But like, I don't know. I just think people like over. I just don't want people to get like bogged down in worrying about these different sects and groups. Like none of these groups have any prestige among the masses because none of them do anything for the masses. Like
Correct.
you think about the Black Panther Party. Like if the police can come and arrest your whole organization and nobody gives a fuck, that's a sign that you don't have a mass base.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
when the Panthers got killed by the police, regular ordinary fucking people would turn out to their funerals.
Yeah,
That's a sign that people are actually listening to what you say. Like people are actually talking about you. Like everybody wants to sell newspapers. Like, have you heard of the Final Call?
no, what's the final call?
It's the Nation of Islam newspaper.
Oh,
If you were black and from an inner city community, you would know what the Final Call was. But like people don't read trot papers. People read shit like the St. Louis American. People read shit like the Final Call. Like next time you're in a black neighborhood, which I don't know how often you frequent black neighborhoods. Judging by your appearance alone, I would say probably not all that often. But if you see somebody selling it, like just buy it for like just as like an example of the shit that people that working class people, black people actually read. Um but people just get so far up their own asses, and
Yeah.
then you go out into reality and nobody gives a fuck. That's why like I see all of this shit as entertainment. Like none of these groups are going to take power. INT is not going to take power. Fucking CPUSA is not going to take power. Do they even have any? I think they had one dude who they had elected as a city councilman in a small town in Wisconsin somewhere.
They got a couple people elected, but they don't say that they're from CPUSA. They register as Democrats. You're surprised to hear, I'm sure.
Of course they do. That's basically the same thing that DSA candidates do. Like that's why I keep saying that we need our own fucking party. Like everybody's caught up on what Morena was able to do in Mexico. Like if I recall correctly, they were members of the ruling party until they split off, weren't they? And yeah, that's what DSA needs to do, because at this point, being a Democrat is a liability. Like you look at, I saw a poll the other day that said that 30% of young black people are seriously considering voting for Trump. Am I saying that we should become Republicans? Absolutely not. I'm not a MAGA communist, but like we have to consider that the terrain that we're operating on as revolutionary communists in the United States is shifting radically. Like, why are 30% of young black people actually considering voting for Trump? Like, we've traditionally, since the 60s, been the hardest core fucking Democrats. We've been more Democratic than the Latinos have been. And now we're, like, black people my age are actually considering Trump as a viable alternative. Why? Like, we have to ask ourselves those hard questions. A lot of leftists deal in delusion. Like, oh, the blacks are going to be fine. They're going to vote for Biden. Or the black people are our natural allies. Like, you don't know the internal contradictions within the black community. You haven't been to a black barbershop. You haven't heard people talking shit about migrants. Like, in Chicago, like, that's a major beef right now. A lot of black people are pissed at the fact that they think that migrants are able to receive shit that we aren't. Like, you have to take that stuff seriously and you have to combat that shit. Otherwise, on election day, you're going to be in for a fucking big, big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a unique period with the party system here, right? The Democratic coalition is completely broken down because the ruling class Democrats have nothing to offer. So this is the time for a third party candidate to show that electoralism is a dead end and convince the masses to act.
Yeah, and that can only require the backing of a like firm party. Like, I don't want us to get into great man theory. Like, oh, all we need is a younger, blacker Bernie, because I mean we see where that ended up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have an article that says your standard of living demands the exploitation of others. You all have some really, really good shit. Like, I like how you guys like. I'm not trying to dick ride or anything, but I like how you guys actually engage with various ideological and political traditions. Like, it's not just, oh, we are strictly Trots. Anything that diverges from Trotskyism is revisionism or third worldism. So,
well, we gotta. I feel like the best way to talk to the people is to talk to them honestly and to talk to them as. I mean, they understand this shit. Like, maybe they don't use our words for it, but like, people feel this stuff instinctively because they're living through the contradictions. So, like, just fucking be honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that we should do. Tell no lies and claim no easy victories, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that leftists seem to not get enough of. For some reason, we like lying to the fucking people.
We got to fix it. We gotta do something.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm looking at beautiful 1930s project housing in St. Louis. I'm a sucker for bricks. I don't know why I like bricks so much. Maybe it's because of my negligible English ancestry that makes me a sucker for fucking brick buildings. All right.
There's something nice about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just a closet Anglophile. Somebody in chat, somebody in chat told me to zip it up when I'm finished. No, you're not my type. So anything you want to, anything you want to, anything you want to wrap up with besides the fact that you need to get rid of that atrocious fucking comb over?
I mean, fucking form a study group if you don't have one and read some books together, man. Marxist literature is the beginning of action.
Okay. I thought action was the beginning of action. Anyways, oppose book worship.
Yeah.
And buy a newsboy cap. Get a Kangol.
I got a fiddler. I'm just not wearing it.
Get a Kangol. What is a fiddler?
It's like a 1920s Eastern European fucking shtetl.
Like fiddler. Looks like fiddler on the roof.
Like fiddler on the roof. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
People call me Tevye when I come in to the store, to like a shop or a deli. That's fine.
Pardon, Rebbe Tevye. Anyways. Well, you actually are Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So you're keeping it. Yeah. See, you yearn for you yearn for the shtetl.
Yeah, that's right. The pale.
Ugh, no, nobody uses that shit. I've actually read stories that shit makes the Jim Crow South look like fucking Beverly Hills. Like they had the Black Hundreds, like just fucking gangs of dudes on horses that would just ride by and behead people with swords. Like that's some wild fucking shit.
It is. It gave us a labor bund though, so that's something.
Oh, you're a Bundist?
No, but it's a very interesting thing to study. Especially when you're talking about like national oppression and the national question. It's like, it's very nitty gritty, and it's got a lot of, you could see how they developed. Even the Tsarists used Jews as settlers around the Black Sea, and then all of the fucking Zionists were like, hey, yeah, we could do this other places too. Take us other places.
Yeah, like one like major thing that I say about like fascism was the fact that like Nazism destroyed immense working class Jewish culture. Like Yiddish is basically the language of the Jewish working class, wasn't it? Like they called it gutter German.
Yeah.
And like coming from the black community, like people automatically have the notion that, oh, the Jews got money. I'm like, no, the fuck they don't. Not all of them. Like, and then like I have to take the opportunity to explain, like there were entire cities, entire parts of cities, like the term ghetto literally comes from Europe.
Yeah.
And like there were entire parts of cities where working class poor Jewish people lived. And even like in the first decades of the last century, like Jewish people played a major role in the formation of the Communist Party of the United States and other left-wing organizations. Like in New York, Yiddish was basically the second language, if not the first language, of the communist movement. So I think a major thing would be like reclaiming that history and talking about how fascism and Nazism literally eviscerated the Jewish working class in Europe and in the Soviet Union.
And I'll put it this way: what the Nazis didn't do, the Zionists finished, because they tried to stamp out Yiddish by recreating Hebrew, which was never a spoken language among the Jews except as a ritual language. And the Hebrew that exists today was a project to destroy the diaspora.
It sounds literally like, when I listen to Hebrew, it sounds like Arabic.
I mean, it's a Semitic language. They're diverged from the same root.
Yeah, and why would you like Yiddish is a beautiful language. Like, of course, my only experience with it has been like listening to it spoken in old gangster movies. But like and also like old left-wing music from like Russia and Poland. But like it's a beautiful language. Like why would you try to that's like trying to wipe out African American vernacular English. Like it's a language of struggle.
Yeah. I agree.
That's atrocious. And if I recall correctly, the Zionists also looked down heavily on Holocaust survivors, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
They considered them weak.
Yeah, they were like, we got out, we did this, we came over here, and we earned our place. You guys stayed there, you deserved what you got.
That's fucking horrible. Like, why would you think about your own people like that? That's like me looking down on Africans because, oh yeah, I'm over here, I'm rich, and you guys are fucking skinny. Like, why would you think about your own people like that? And then that's a fucked up way to think. Like I'm not one to get involved in other people's business. Like I know Black Americans, we have our own bullshit that we have to like try to climb out of. Especially like a lot of us delve into American chauvinism, like we look down on Caribbean and African immigrants, but like that's a horrible, fucked up way to look at and think about your people. Like these people have gone through
Yeah.
horrible, horrible things, and then the fucked up thing is that you're using the Holocaust as a sort of justification for your waging of another one against another people.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, Zionism is a really, really fucked up ideology.
It's got a lot of parallels here with white settlerism. It's essentially a kind of Jewish settlerism.
Yeah. Johnny Socialism says that AOC walked so that mega communists could run. You know, he always has the fucking hottest fucking takes. I love Johnny Socialism. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Burger Stalinist.
Happy to be here. Solidarity.
All power to the people.